At this time, I'll call our meeting to order. I'd like to welcome those that are here with us this evening and also those that are watching us via YouTube. At this time, I'd like to invite Pastor Michael Mathis from Mission Field Ministries to lead us in our invocation. It will be followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. All those present, please rise.
O Lord God Almighty, you have created the whole universe and you made all of us in your own image. Thank you, Lord Jesus, for your endless mercy and your grace, God, that you continue to bestow upon us. And Lord, as we come into your presence, we always remember how frail we are and how we err in our best state. And remembering that, Lord, we ask that wherever you may see any wrongdoing about each of us, including the board, we ask that you would forgive us, O Lord, once again and have mercy. We thank you, God, for this great town of Hope Mills and how you have so abundantly blessed it down through the years, the residents and the contributions that have been made, Lord, toward this town progressing. We thank you for that. We are always grateful for those that have gone before us, O Lord, and especially grateful for the leadership now with Mayor Jackie Warner. Thank you for her, Lord, asking for protection for her and her family continuously, O Lord, in the coming months and years ahead. Not only her, O Lord, but all of the council members. Thank you for their willingness, Lord, to volunteer for the service and to do things to better this town. We're grateful for their lives, and we continue to pray a hedge of protection around them as well and their families as they go out and come in. And Lord, for our first responders, and God, thank you, Lord. I thank you, God, for the chief of police here, and I just say a special prayer for him, God, that you would continue to wrap your loving arms around him and shield and protect him and his family. Lord, we thank you that things are as well as they are. Nothing in particular, Lord, but you always say pray ahead of time. Don't wait until something happens. And so we pray for him, Lord, as well as the other officers, God, that so willing to put their lives in harm's way, that you would keep angels encamped, Lord, behind them when they don't see any danger. Thank you, oh Lord. We need them, Lord. We need them, and we thank you, God, for helping their hearts to be confident, Lord, even as so many ugly things are happening in our world, God, and so many things are being said. God, we ask that you would comfort those, Lord, that are doing the right thing and lay down their lives, God, for us. We thank you, God, for the fire department as well as the chief, Lord, that you would continue to shield and protect them. So many things, God, I could think of, but I love the town of Hope Mills. I thank you, God, for what you're doing. Even though I live way out on North Ramsey, God, I thank you for planting our church here. And so you have wrapped your arms around this town, and Lord, there's still the best is yet to come. We ask now that you would continue to endow the council with wisdom, Lord, to execute the things that they have on the agenda, God, and that it would be in accordance with your perfect will for the town of Hope Mills. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. I have one presentation to add to the agenda, and that would be the showing of the 2020 video for graduation that the board has made. Is there any other additions or deletions to our agenda?
Madam Mayor, I have an addition under new business.
Yes, sir.
I would like to add outdoor dining at local restaurants, zoning procedures and regulations.
Under new business, that would be item L, and that would be outdoor dining zoning, and regulations.
Yes.
Are there any other additions or deletions for our agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve our agenda with those two additions?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed. The first thing I have is a proclamation, and I will read that at this time. Juneteenth proclamation. Whereas at 2,
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor.
Yeah.
I'm terribly sorry, but Pastor Mathis had asked if he could make a brief announcement.
sure.
Real quick.
All right.
Sorry.
Come on, that's quite all right.
Yep.
And I do apologize.
That's quite all
for
right,
this
sir.
brief interruption. Thank you, council members. The only thing that I would like to say, well, Michael Mathis, 6337 Cavison Court, Fayetteville, North Carolina. We begun about 2 months ago to make up food boxes there at the ministry, Black and Decker Road, and we issue food boxes out to anyone that needs food. And so what I wanted to do was kind of find out what would be the best way to help the people, the residents here in Hope Mills. You know, God forbid I have a minister here and I don't reach out or do anything right here in this in the town of Hope Mills. And so I'm trying to see what's a good way to probably advertise and get the word out to the people here in Hope Mills. We have folks coming from all around, even Coates, North Carolina, every third Saturday between the hours of 12 and 2 p.m. We do this. They just pull up underneath the canopy. We give them a couple of boxes of food and what have you, and it's good food. I would eat it myself. Okay, and then they just keep it moving. So I just kind of wanted to make that announcement. I believe we going to have a lot of people that's going to be needing things in the future, and so I'm grateful to be a part of the team, and I just want to do what I can to help.
Thank you so much. I believe that we need to let the almshouse know for sure. And then if, you know, through the email that we have for the Pastors Coalition, that might be an opportunity there because that would hit all the churches and that could maybe identify those that are using their food closets too. But thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, our Juneteenth proclamation. Whereas at 2 p.m. on New Year's Day, January 1st, 1863, using his war powers as president, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, providing that all persons held as slaves within any state or designated part of a state shall be then, thenceforward, and forever free. Whereas the Emancipation Proclamation made the permanent abolition of slavery a Union war aim and provided the legal framework for the emancipation of nearly all 4 million slaves as the Union armies advanced. Whereas Juneteenth, the blending of the words June and 19th, is the oldest known U.S. celebration of the end of slavery. It commemorates June 19, 1865, and whereas on that date, Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, and announced the end of both the Civil War and slavery. With this announcement, the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation for the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor. The freedmen are advised to remain at their present homes and work for wages. Whereas Texans began the celebration of Juneteenth in 1866 with community events such as parades, cookouts, prayer gatherings, musical performances, and historical cultural readings, some communities purchased land for Juneteenth celebrations, such as the Emancipation Park in Houston, Texas. And as freed families immigrated from Texas to other parts of the United States, they carried the Juneteenth celebration with them. Whereas Al Edwards, a freshman state representative, put forward the bill, House Bill 1016 in 1979, making the Texas the first state to grant this emancipation celebration. And whereas since then, 45 other states and the District of Columbia have also declared it an official holiday. Whereas in Coleman County, residents have organized a community-wide Juneteenth Freedom Festival for Friday, June 19, 2020. Now therefore, we, the Hope Mills Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2020 as Juneteenth in Hope Mills, to be celebrated with virtual speakers, entertainers, storytellers, and more. Next, we have the 2020 graduation video, and this will be the premiere, the first time we've all seen it.
You want more? Okay.
All of it.
Oh, okay. Even more?
That's probably good. Oh, yeah, that's good. Magnificent films.
Jackie Warner, Mayor of Hope Mills, wanting you to know just how proud we are of the seniors of Hope Mills. As a board and as a town, we are so happy that we can celebrate with you this special time in your life. We claim all three schools. We've got the Skyview Tigers, we've got the Jack Britt Buccaneers, and we've got the Grace Creek Bears. So just know that we are with you. We know this is a difficult time for you. We know that this is not a normal graduation time. We miss a lot of opportunities, but this is also a special time for Hope Mills. Special because we love you, we support you, and we're so proud of the things that you've done. Our mayor's leadership committee, they've been great this year. So sorry that we didn't get to finish up the year together, but know that we're very proud of you. You're Hope Mills proud, we're Hope Mills strong, and we're so thankful that you're going to come back and make us even better citizens when you get through what's next in your life.
So we talked all night about the rest of our lives. We were gonna do when we turned 25. Keep thinking times will never change. Keep on thinking things will always be the same. We'll leave this year, we won't be coming back. No more hanging out, 'cause we're all on a different track. And if you got something that you need to say, you better say it right now, 'cause you will have another day. 'Cause we're moving on and we can't slow down. These memories are playing like a film that's in the night.
Hello, I'm Monica Craig, Mayor Pro Tem of Hope Mills. Class of 2020, we want you to know that we're proud of you and remember to be the change that you want to see in the world. Hello, I'm Joe Everett, I'm one of the commissioners from Hope Mills. I want to say congratulations to class of 2020. Follow your dreams, let you go high, be safe, and God bless you to the good one.
Good evening, this is Commissioner Jerry Legg. I'd like to say congratulations to Cassidy Horn, Kimberly Johnson, and all the other graduating seniors for 2020.
Hello graduates of 2020, I'm Jesse Bellflowers, Commissioner Town of Hope Mills. I want to give each of you a hearty congratulations for graduating this year, and just know that success is never achieved unless you have some bends and turns in the road. And along your life's journey, your road, your path will always be under construction. So best of luck to all of you.
I'm Debbie Shade, Town Executive Assistant to the Town Manager, and Deputy Town Clerk for Town of Hope Mills.
Hi, I'm James Starlight, I'm the town clerk in the town of Hope Mills.
And I'm Alyssa Adams, I'm the town manager for the town of Hope Mills. On behalf of the administration department for the town of Hope Mills, we would like to congratulate the class of 2020.
Congratulations.
Hi, I'm Drew Holland, the Finance Director for the Town of Hope Mills. And congratulations to all the graduates of 2020. Good luck, and remember, don't sign up for the first credit card offer you get to get to college.
Yeah.
Hope Mills Public Works Department operators.
Congratulations, class of 2020.
Congratulations, class of 2020. My name is Patricia Jenkins. I'm with the Town of Hope Mills Human Resources Department, and we would just like to take the time out to say congratulations.
Hello, I'm Letitia Black, and I'm the HR Director for the Town of Hope Mills. And 2020 was declared your perfect year. This year, we want to make sure that you have a perfect business or what you're doing in your life. We knew it was a challenging year, but I encourage you to stay faithful and strong and reach all your goals. Thank you and congratulations.
Congratulations.
On behalf of the Hope Mills Fire Department, we'd like to wish the 2020 graduates
Congratulations.
On behalf of the Town of Hope Mills Building Inspection Department and the class of 2020, we'd like to say congratulations from the Town of Hope Mills Building Inspection Department.
Go get it. Yeah. Excuse me.
Hello, this is Chance McLaughlin, Planning and Economic Development Director for the Town of Hope Mills. Definitely want to take this time to say congratulations to the graduating class of 2020. We know this has been a very difficult year for you guys, but we also want you guys to know that not only do you have our support, we have faith, and you're definitely going to go out and make a huge impact in this world. God bless you. Good night.
Hi, I'm Beth Brown, the former department of the Town of Hope Mills. We want to say congratulations to the class of 2020.
It's pretty cool.
This is really sad with the Denver Department of Recreation and Employment. Just wanted to wish all the graduates in 2020 class a happy graduation and best of luck in all the things.
Good job. Thank you, sir.
That is super.
It is.
Magnificent.
Yes.
Films.
Magnificent.
Yes, magnificent. Great job.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Chancellor.
Next, we have public comments, and we do have a list, just a reminder that they will be allowed 3 minutes to speak when they, as they come in. They will identify themselves and give their address and then speak for 3 minutes. This time, I'd like to recognize Zachary Crane. May have to move the microphone. There we go. You just have to identify yourself and your address, and then you have 3 minutes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm Zachary Crane. I own a business at 4251 Legion Road in Hope Mills, North Carolina. Good evening, Hope Mills Board of Commissioners. My name is Zach. I'm the owner of Stop Button. I have come to this meeting to shed light on a proposal that I have presented to the town of Hope Mills. I believe this can be a workaround for many of the businesses that are currently closed due to the COVID pandemic. As many of you may know, there are still many businesses closed, and have been closed for nearly 100 days. I personally have been closed for 93 days without a single dollar of income. We did get the PPP loan, however, that is only good for 8 weeks. That has long been come and passed, and our savings is quickly running out. Stop Button has been called a pillar in this community by many, not just as a great place of entertainment, but we also work with the local community by providing an outlet for local artists. We have a local artist wall. We train and fund a local esports team where we hold weekly esports tournaments. We hold countless birthday parties, among many other events in Hope Mills. We have provided countless memories for the Hope Mills residents to take into the future. Stop Button has also brought this town nearly $1 million of taxable revenue every year. And we know for a fact at least 2 homes have been purchased as a direct result of Stop Button being here, one of them being my business partner. We pride ourselves in giving back to the community. We purchase pep rally t-shirts for Southview High School football team. We buy local art supplies for Cape Fear Valley's pediatric wing, donate arcade cabinets to local churches, and we work with our local veterans with Operation Supply Drop to provide gaming consoles to soldiers overseas. I bring all of these facts to the attention about Stop Button to the attention of the board to shed light on how important local businesses are to the community. Some may say, well, it's just a bar, it's not that important. But I believe bars and other businesses are trapped in the technicality of how our businesses are formed on paper. The fact of the matter is, right now, if I were to sell chicken wings and call myself a restaurant, I would be allowed to be open. And for me, I just can't see, it's hard to understand how adding food to a menu would make me less of a threat to public safety. It just doesn't make sense. I have put in front of this board a proposal that I believe would make everyone happy, accounting for the public's well-being. This proposal was adopted May 28th by the town of Atlantic Beach in North Carolina. This proposal would simply relax an already existing law on the books that would allow us to operate our business within 100 feet of the already existing business. We would have to have a clearly identified area, and we would have to keep our customers inside of that area. All social distancing, all of the face masks, everything would be put in place as well. This isn't a perfect solution, but I believe a little bit of something is better than all of nothing. I would like for us to get back to providing this community help and get back to having fun again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And we do have this is what was brought for us.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Are we taking action with this resolution? Or is this just reference?
No, this is Atlantic Beach resolution.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. This is just reference only?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, next we have Sierra Ellis.
Thank you, Mayor.
Uh-huh.
I need to steal that notebook from that gentleman that just left. He got so carried away that he took my notes. Good evening, Board of Commissioners. My name is Sierra Ellis, and I was former Miss Cumberland County in 2016. So if you've seen my face before, it's because I represented you at the State of Miss North Carolina pageant. I want to start off by saying I am the marketing coordinator for Stop Button Bar and Arcade. And I just want to let me ask you first, have any of you been to the Barcade before? It is an incredible time. One of my favorite memories of Stop Button is my 51-year-old mother kicking the behind of a 9-year-old at air hockey, and at no point in that interaction, even though she won the game, at no point did they physically interact. At Stop Button, we are prepared to fight this pandemic. We're prepared to bring back entertainment to Hope Mills, to boost morale. I think you would agree that this is one of the hardest times we've ever faced. And right now it's our responsibility as citizens to bring back entertainment. I'll tell you what, we've even got masks ready that have these cute little logos on them. We're prepared to sell these at the door so that people feel responsible for themselves and responsible for their health. We're also prepared to balance those games 6 feet apart, social distance. But the main thing that I want to bring to you today is that this is your responsibility as much as it is ours. You have the paper in front of you with a cute little pamphlet and some pictures of how important Stop Button is for us. We have 13 employees, including myself, with 10 children underneath them. We have not let our employees go on unemployment for a single day. The gentleman you just saw before you has paid them 40 hours a week every single day since we've been unemployed. He's actually taken a pay cut. He hasn't paid himself, but he's paid us. And I won't take the full 3 minutes, but I do want to emphasize to you that you have the opportunity to bring back fun to Hope Mills, to bring back joy and entertainment and pleasure in a safe way. Because the people in Atlantic Beach have done this already. They've done the legalities, they worked out the framework, and I do believe that it's the opportunity of North Carolina to bring the fun back. Don't you agree? So anyway, I won't take any more of your time. I'll cut this short, but again, thank you so much for your time, and please do consider it. And let us know if you have any questions at all. I've put his email and his number there for you, and let us know. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Rod McLean.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Rod McLean, 5435 Fountain Lane. At the last BOC meeting, a report from the liaison to the Veterans Committee stated that they had made a complaint that certain citizens had organized a meeting for veterans, and they did not appreciate this. Encroachment on their purview. The Veterans Committee has, in conjunction with the VFW, Post 10630, always provided an event at the Memorial Day and Veterans Day. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, the event for the year was not held, and there was no public notice of anything to take its place. I have, for the last few years, attended these events, and I was missing the opportunity to participate this year. So when I saw a news article on Sunday mid-morning about TAPS across America and how it was a national event, I thought it was an idea that we, Hope Mills, the town of Hope Mills, could participate in. I asked Miss Reeves, as a music teacher, if she knew of anyone willing to play a bugle or a trumpet, and it was a good idea, and if it was a good idea for us to participate. She agreed with me on the idea and found a friend who was willing to participate. Miss Reeves also suggested a wreath might be beneficial as well. So I contacted Plaza Florist, and Debbie was more than supportive. I notified the town manager via email, after we had organized the event. I also used the media outlet, The Chatter, to notify my friends if they wish to attend. I used that source because I only have a few friends on Facebook, and I was not going to research email addresses for everyone else I knew. I also knew that those on the Chatter would likely pass it on to others not on the group. It was clearly published that we would maintain social distancing. Apparently, this gathering to honor those who have fallen in service to this country has become a reason to blast those that coordinated the event. Miss Sharon Reeves deserves recognition as a beneficial citizen of this town, and not the ire of those citizens that they think they are the only ones allowed to conduct an event. The complete ceremony lasted a whole 3 minutes, 24 notes on a trumpet, and was over quickly. I had been asked to move it to the Veterans Memorial, but by that time it had already been coordinated, and I did not want to change things. In addition, I hope that those enjoying the day at the lake would appreciate the honor to those that fell. I find it almost amusing that a citizen resigned from the Veterans Committee because another citizen arranged this. I have served this community in various positions and have never had the need to resign because I felt that another citizen had slighted me by doing something I could have done if I had thought of it first. What is really concerning is that the majority of this board seem to believe that this gathering was detracting from the town's good name. All the comments I have been privy to indicate that citizens appreciated the effort and would like to see it next year. Of course, that depends on the national organization doing something.
Sir, you've had your 3 minutes.
I think was that a true 3 minutes?
Yeah, that was 3 minutes.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
I will just, if I may, one last thing, if I may read the last 2 lines of the last paragraph. I will leave you with this. Campaigns for election will start in about 15 months. I will be bringing all your failures and personal agendas to light so that you won't have to worry about doing this to others in the next session. Thank you.
Next, we have Gerald McGeechee.
Good evening. Hello?
Good evening.
There we go.
You need to give your name and address.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Gerald McGeechee, 4044 William Bill Luther Drive here in Hope Mills. First and foremost, I'm speaking on behalf of the South Main Subdivision. We want to say thank you to Dr. McCray, Ms. Starling, I think Don Sisk for the speedy Cisco, there you go, for the speedy recovery as well as the Public Works. We asked we can get some signs in our neighborhood, caution, slow children at play. Of course, more kids are in the area during the COVID-19, so the more kids are out, so they did an outstanding job with that, getting those signs up quickly. I also want to thank our Chief of Police, his patrol officers, Officer Roland Mendez and Sergeant Joseph. They has also increased their patrols in the neighborhood, and we greatly appreciate that, keeping our neighborhood safe. And I'm speaking on behalf of the Board of Directors for the HOA. Now I'm speaking on on behalf of myself. I moved to Hope Mills approximately 2 years ago. Found out I knew some great people here, like Mr. Marley here, known him since I was a kid. One thing that I wanted to bring to your guys' attention is we got to keep up with the time. Of course, time waits on no one. We have to stay modern, keep up with what's going on, just like technology. One thing that I did notice when I moved here is at the corner of Lakeview, I believe it is, and a Main right across from the bank, it's a old, I'm gonna be very blunt, an old 1970s marquee there. This is Hope Mills. We got to do better. We need something more modern. I don't know who I need to speak to, what needs to be done, but we have some nice, wonderful people here. And I am on the Board of Adjustments Committee, and maybe I should have gotten on the Board of Appearance Committee. We need to do something and get a more modern sign. I'm not sure if grants can be written. I'm not sure if the town has $1 million sitting there waiting that we can spend on it. But we need to, in my opinion, appearance is everything. We need to get some more modern signs. We have a Chick-fil-A here. We're moving on, got Lowe's. We have more modern things, so we need to keep up with the time and get something that's more modern, that's more eye-catching, more appealing, not only to our youth, but to our seasoned people, to our visitors. And like I said, Chick-fil-A is being here. Everyone loves Chick-fil-A. They'll come off 95 and go to Chick-fil-A. They see that sign, they be like, man, it's a nice town, but that sign got to go. So maybe that's something that you guys as the board could speak on or work on or get something done. And as my time expires, thank you so much for allowing me to speak, and stay safe.
Well, thank you. And that is something that is being worked on as we speak. It's in the budget. So thank you for reinforcing the need.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Next, we have Sharon Fawcett.
Locator people come in there. I was wondering all weekend what was going to happen. I couldn't hold it in. It was Sunday.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi. I'm Sharon Reeves. I live at 3708 South Main Street. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Board of Commissioners, for this opportunity to speak tonight. I just wanted to say that the existing members of the Hope Mills Historic Preservation Commission wish to see the continuation and the preservation of the history and integrity of our town's heritage. It took many years to establish this commission, and it would be a shame to replace it as a committee, as we can work with greater validity and town support as a fully recognized commission. We're looking forward to collaborating with you on current and future projects, but we realize we need your support and your help. We need you to approve the continuation of the commission, and ask that you vote tonight in favor of our new applicants to the Hope Mills Preservation Commission for the betterment of all of us in our community. And I'm really scared. I've never talked before y'all. Sorry. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you have a nice evening.
Thank you. Next, we have Teresa Davis.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Teresa Davis. I live at 5579 Heather Street. And I'm here the first time speaking with you just as a concerned citizen for our community. I, too, am on the most recent member, I guess, of the Hope Mills Preservation Commission. And I also was one of the last members of Christ Episcopal Church and the Parish House, and am very familiar with all of that and the way that, you know, there was an unfortunate ending to some of that. Me personally, my family, being involved in the church there. And I too would like to see the commission remain intact and continue doing good work. At our meeting the other night, I know there's some folks here that are advisors to the commission, and we actually had a very good work session and brainstorming. Mr. Legg was there, and there's some good things in the works. And I would just like to ask that you do continue to support that commission and allow it to remain intact so we can take care of the heritage of our town and all of the historic area of our town. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Tara Blue.
Hi, good evening. My name is Tara. I live on Pete Warner Court, and I've been a resident for 6 years. My husband was born and raised here in Hope Mills. I am a mother of 3 biracial children. In a study by Goff et al. Published by the American Psychological Association, it was found that black children are seen as less innocent and older than their white peers. This has been confirmed by further research. Tamir Rice was an African-American boy killed in Cleveland, Ohio in 2014. The officer shot him within seconds of arriving at the city rec center after mistaking him for a 20-year-old dangerous man with a pistol. He was 12 years old and he was playing with a toy gun. According to North Carolina State Statute 15 Alpha-401, a law enforcement officer is justified in using deadly physical force upon a suspect when it is or appears to be reasonably necessary. This means that the situation is highly subjective to each individual officer's judgment. What about when an officer does not have good judgment and is not reasonable? I find myself being unreasonable about many things in my own life. And officers are human beings, and like all of us, they are capable of making bad judgment calls. Should a bad judgment call cost someone their life? Shouldn't we amend our use of force policy to remove as much personal subjectivity as possible? I served 7 years in the Army. In Iraq, the rules of engagement said that we had to have PID, or positive identification of a threat, before we could engage fire. Iraqis carry guns just like Americans. As a soldier in a war zone, I was told that we could not shoot at someone carrying a weapon. We could only return fire when we were positive that the suspect was actually a threat. I often ask myself, why is it easier for our officers to kill their own citizens than a soldier to kill an enemy in war? I've attended the peaceful protests for the last 2 weeks, and I am very thankful to the Hope Mills Police for being accommodating and supportive. Thank you to the City Council for releasing your statement on racial equality and your, quote, pledge to make every effort within your power to create a just society in Hope Mills. We don't want to wait until someone possibly loses their life here. We want to be proactive and not reactive. I'm asking you tonight, in addition to the statute that I noted, does the town of Hope Mills have any legislation or ordinances that would further protect its citizens from officers who may be unreasonable or do not have the best judgment? And has the council considered creating a civilian review board to renew trust in the police and improve transparency concerning misconduct? Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
That concludes public comments. Next, is there anything on our consent agenda that you would like moved to new business? If not, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda that is before you?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to accept the consent agenda as read.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed. The first item on new business is discussion and possible action related to the July 4th celebration.
Madam Mayor, I put this on the agenda because there are some concerns that have been raised about having a traditional parade and also the fireworks. And so I'm going to ask the police chief maybe to come up and just address a few of the practical issues that we may have in trying to do our normal, so to speak, events.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, Mayor Pro Tem, thank you. I'll address any questions you have reference to your considerations. Everybody likes the 4th of July. I just want to throw that out there. I have been fortunate to attend every 4th of July here in Hope Mills since 1989. Love them, have nothing bad to say about any of them. However, this year, we are faced with something that we have never had to deal with before, specifically excluding other issues, the pandemic. Currently, as of today, the restrictions for public gatherings have not been lifted or waived by the governor's office. I've had discussions with Ms. Adams on a couple of occasions, trying to cipher out a practical path forward to where there could be something with the 4th of July. The problem keeps coming into, we all know how popular our 4th of July celebrations are, from the parade to the fireworks to the festivities in between. We get large crowds, we get a lot of people. At the end of the day, as it gets close to the fireworks time, everybody that is not going out to Fort Bragg for their fireworks comes to Hope Mills. And sometimes if they're real good, they can hit both. So you will run into a problem where we will be unable to even attempt to get compliance with the large gathering, social distancing, we would be out of compliance with the governor's order. That is the choke point that we keep coming back to. And I'll take any questions you might have.
Mayor?
Yes, Commissioner Legg.
Thank you, Chief.
Sure.
I've had a call or two in the last week, people wanting to have it back to the lake. But I spoke with Miss Adams, and I understand our fire department won't permit that to happen. On top of the crowd we normally have, we would probably be overswamped with people because nobody else is having them.
Correct.
We're the only one in the area who has, excuse me, one even possibly going to go on. So I agree with you. I think we're rushing this thing back. And, you know, some of these people out of work and working from home probably will disagree with me on that, but we can't be too safe. I carry my mask in my pocket all the time. I try to keep my social distancing. I even haven't put up a screen between me and Brian. But I do appreciate your statement tonight. It just confirms what I kind of already thought.
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to say no because I'm not know-it-all. But we'll discuss this a little bit later, I suppose. So thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Comments?
In your packet is a list of the areas that the surrounding municipalities that have canceled their events. Now, back when the pandemic first hit, we did make a decision to cancel vendors and music because that just really, you know, at the time we didn't think that was going to be practical. And those things have to be, you know, planned way in advance. Parks and Rec is open for, you know, discussion on how we proceed. There are a few municipalities that have planned to have, I believe Ms. Hawkins said that she's found a few that are actually having their fireworks and they're shooting them off, allowing people to park somewhere else. In other words, they're not allowed to go where the fireworks are being shot off to park. They're on their own for parking, because practically we're just not going to be able to enforce. You know, if we have the fireworks here and shoot them off and we allow people to come and park here, we're just not going to be able to manage whether or not they get out of their cars, they gather together. That's just not practical. So there is an option of possibly allowing it, but telling people they can either stay at home, because, you know, a lot of people in the area would still be able to see it, or park, you know, in some public parking lots, perhaps. But again, we're not going to be able to manage that. We're not going to be able to enforce anything, in other words.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Melissa. I looked at the list as well that you submitted with our packet, and I'd like to say that I am all in support of firing off our fireworks on 4th of July. It's patriotism, it's community. And at a time that the last 3 or 4 months has been very difficult for all communities. So I say we do it. And what concerns me the most is we get wrapped around why we can't do something, and we don't be proactive in finding solutions of how we can do it. I looked at just about every one of these that on this list that are having fireworks. And I started with Benson, and I went down through the list, and I see exactly what they're doing. I have it all here too if you want to read it. Why are they putting off fireworks, and how are they doing it, and how are they doing it safely? Now, true.
Benson's one of the ones
True.
that I even checked in.
We're not doing public gatherings. Yes, that's exactly right. But Benson and other communities have found a way to demonstrate and show patriotism on the 4th of July for their citizens by saying There'll be no public gatherings. There'll be no traditional 4th of July parade. We will set off our fireworks at the usual time that we do. You'll sit in your cars and you can observe them at home or in another location, but you're not going to be able to gather. There's some communities, I have all the list here. There's 2 of them that are using your drone, or a drone, not your drone, but a drone. Sorry, Chief.
No worries.
They are live streaming with drones to also show to the community. Those are the ways that we do this. And that's my thought when I looked at this, and I'll go back to years and years ago. We put them off on the bridge down at the lake, and now I'm told tonight that we can't do that. Why can we not do that?
Environmental issues is the
Is that
main
what it-
thing.
Why can we not do that? We did it years ago, but we can't do it today. I am sorry.
I think that would be best answered by the
That
fire
would be
chief.
because of the fire code, sir.
But it was okay years ago to do it.
Well, the code changes about every 4 years.
Okay.
So the code now requires basically 100 foot for every 1 inch of shell. So if we average here in Hope Mills 3 to 4 inch shells. So that would require 300 to 400 feet clearance. We don't have that on the bridge.
Okay.
And I was told also that the debris that we normally have to
Okay.
clean up goes in the water.
Okay.
And environmentally, they're not, I mean, it'd be an environmental issue that we could be fined for.
And Chief, it's just an answer of clarification, because a lot of folks ask the same thing, and they
Sure,
don't
I get
and
it.
they don't know
We
why.
don't do it just to be mean.
I know that.
You know?
And I didn't ask the question
Yeah.
to be mean.
We had, we're held to a standard, we're required to enforce the code.
Mm-hmm.
The fire code is a law. So, we broach this up, it seems like every 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's changed. Well, the fire code has changed, but
Yeah,
nothing's
yeah.
changed in the fire code regarding fireworks for like 6 years, 8 years.
Well, I'm glad you explained that, Chief.
Yeah, like it looks great over the lake where it can reflect, but
Yeah.
we just don't have the clearances now down there that we used to.
Well, Madam Mayor, that brings us back to the park then.
Yeah, and what the option was, what we've talked about with Parks and Rec is doing it here in our normal location, but not allowing people to come to that location.
Could I ask
They're on their own.
Lamarco? Could I ask Lamarco his thoughts, Melissa?
Sure, yeah,
If we were to do it in the park,
yeah. Lamarco, you'll come up?
probably Megan with him.
Yeah, yeah.
And bring Megan with him.
Yep.
Good evening, Board, Madam Mayor. So we've gone, I think Megan and I, we've been talking about this for like 2 months. And then we wanted to come up with some alternatives.
Yeah.
And I think the fireworks, after going through that list that we provided you all with, and the fact that Benson was able to pull it off, we're doing it. We thought that was a good alternative. So if you all are for doing it, shooting the fireworks off at the park, but not allowing people to park here, it's something we can pull off. And I've talked to several members that live in Hope Mills that agree they can see fireworks from where they live at.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And to kind of go off that, there's, I believe it's Hendersonville. They're actually flying a huge balloon the morning of. They're going to put it up, and if you can see it from around town, you can see the fireworks at night. So it's something that kind of like lets people know that where they are, they're planning on where they're going, they can see it.
Yeah, that's in here.
As
Yeah.
far as having people at the park, we really don't want to have people getting out of their cars. Unfortunately, I think fields 1 and 2 are being prepped for fall ball and the irrigation system. So if we allowed cars, I mean, that's just a whole nother can of worms to get into. And if we allowed parking in the park, some of these other places that are doing the drive-in or windshield viewing fireworks, they're requiring parking spots in between. With the 350-foot radius that we need for the fireworks, the only place that people could park in this park is in the big concrete parking lot. They can't park behind in the gravel. from
Right,
the Golfview
right.
entrance or anything like that. And also, if we allowed them to park here, they wouldn't be able to see because of the trees.
Right.
And let's be honest, people aren't going to stay in their cars. Everybody's not. And I just don't want to promote or be a part of, promoting people not social distancing, and we can't enforce it. So I've seen in other places where people
Commissioner Marley.
aren't totally
Yeah.
being compliant. So
If the manager don't mind,
Yeah,
go
ahead.
in your professional opinion, do we or do we not need to do it? And don't tell us what you think we want to hear. Tell us in your professional opinion, should we or should we not?
in my professional opinion, the fireworks and not allowing people to park in the park, I think we should do it. I think it's the least we can do if we indeed agree not to have people park here.
I guess the question should be to Chief Ricciardo then, because Chief Ricciardo, you and I both know that Highway 162, Legion Road, the churches, parking lots, Main Street, it becomes a major traffic jam, and normally we have to block off Golfview, and
Yes, ma'am.
so how would we handle that? Because having been experienced in this since 1979, I can tell you that yes, the lake was a good spot, but I can tell what happened when we couldn't go there anymore.
Oh, yeah.
But I can tell you from the previous years, the traffic is unbelievable. It is probably the most traffic we have in Hope Mills.
Yes.
So
a
that's
simple answer.
I guess my answer is what do you think?
Having the fireworks is a great idea. You can't have anybody, like you said, can't have anybody in the park because we all know they're not going to stay in their cars, and
Right.
frankly, there's
Right.
not enough room for everybody who wants to see it in the park to get in the park. That would be an issue. You can still have the fireworks there, absolutely. However, you are going to run into a traffic issue on Golfview, Rockfish, North Main, South Main, and 162, because people will come to see the fireworks. They will be in the Surge parking lot, the Walmart parking lot, the Carlos C's parking lot, Robbins parking lot, Trade Street, Hill Street, Johnson. They're going to come because that's what they do. The fireworks are beautiful. I love them. And I know I'm not the only one that shares that opinion. Would we be able to manage the traffic and the people's interactions there? No, we would not. We would do our best to manage traffic flow, but as anybody who has been privy to these in any number of occasions, it only takes 1 year to know that traffic flow becomes gridlock, and you will be on Golfview or Rockfish or Main Street for quite a while. What happens when that gridlock sets in? That's not on a town-controlled area, i.e. it's a public roadway. Whatever happens there is going to happen there. We won't be able to control that or manage that. We will do our best to manage the traffic flow, but what happens in between is going to be what happens in between. I love the idea of having the fireworks with a drone showing it.
Yeah.
That's something that can be live streamed and enjoyed by everybody. And somebody more learned than me would be better able to talk on that. But as far as if it's the old saying, if you have it, they will come. And that's fine if everybody understands that's what will happen and keeps the expectations relevant to what would happen with that, if that makes sense.
Mayor,
Yes, sir, Commissioner Legg.
do we have the use of a drone? Do you have a drone?
We have a drone. It's an older one, and I'm not sure if it has the capability to do that, i.e. live stream stuff. We normally use it for search and rescue, stuff like that. And it does its thing with a single user source, i.e. the pilot has a display and it sends it to that. I'm not 100% sure if it has live streaming capability.
Okay, as a backup to that, can we use a laptop or something to live stream, like Zoom or whatever we have to do?
We could do Facebook Live. I mean, we put it on Facebook Live last year.
Yeah.
It's just someone here
Yes.
filming it with their phone.
Yeah.
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 So,
And I'm not
that's what we get for doing such a good job every year.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I understand, Chief, I understand the situation with the park. It's gridlock every year.
Yes, sir.
It's the same last year, and it was the year before that. And if we didn't have the pandemic this year, we'd still have the traffic concerns and the gridlock.
Yes,
Let
sir.
me ask, Lamarco, what about the golf course? Is that an option or not for a location?
Let you.
Because then you only have one road to deal with.
Well, and Melissa or Don, we're kind of restricted on how much activity we can have at the golf course
Okay.
and the agreement with the parking lot and DOT. So we kind of took that option off the table.
I just wanted to see if that was
We
an
did
option.
look at it, but for that reason, we decided we couldn't do it.
Okay. Well, with that said, Mayor, I believe the show must go on, and I make the motion we do it.
I'll second the motion that we have it, but with no attendance.
No gathering, no parking in the park, strictly fireworks only. But the show goes on. It's patriotism. It really is. And we're a patriotic community. But that's just my
Okay.
thoughts.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Val Flarsman, in your motion, are you saying that go ahead and have the fireworks, but no attendance, nobody can drive into other parking areas or anything?
Well, the park would be off limits
I mean,
for
other
social
parking areas
for social gathering.
outside of the park.
What we can only control the park. That's all we can control. I can't control a private business. It would only be our park.
Well,
Our
just
area.
consider that all the traffic we had before, all the areas around us that are not having it, they'll be coming in also. I mean, it's gonna be 3 times as much traffic as we had last year.
Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Marley requested first, and I'll recognize you.
I just had a quick comment. I'm in the mindset of you either do it all or nothing. We just had a local business owner here come to us, and we basically looked at him and told him we couldn't help him, but now we're gonna fill his parking lot full of cars for a town event. And he can't open his business and being closed for 100 days. That's wrong to me. I don't know, I'm just as patriotic as the next, but that's just my feeling. So I don't see how we can do a celebration in the town and tell a business that we can't help them open. And they're taxpayers, but we're gonna fill his parking lot full of cars for people parked on the bypass over there to watch these fireworks. And you're gonna put that on the back of every local business owner in this town. We're gonna tax the police department because you're gonna have business owners that don't want people parking in their parking lot, dumping trash out of their cars, because they're gonna come with food and everything else. They're gonna dump it out. They're gonna leave it for the business owner to clean up. And that's what we're doing to our businesses and our community. So I just don't feel like we can do it. And I'd love to do it just as much as the next, but you either do it all, open the park up, crowd them in here, shovel people in here, or you don't do it at all. That's just.
Madam Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem McCray.
Commissioner Marty just echoed a lot of the things that I was going to say. With COVID-19, I think we've all done things traditionally that we've never had to do before. I'm on the Arts Council, the board for the Arts Council. We've canceled the International Folk Festival, one of the biggest festivals in the southeastern United States, in September. We've canceled it for September. We didn't say we were canceling it. We said we were postponing it. That's not the way we worded it. So I don't know what October or even Christmas would look like right now with COVID-19. But can we not move it and have something nice to go along with Old Meal Day if we have it? But I'm with Commissioner Marley. It's going to be trash. People are going to trash these parking lots. We had the business owner. He sent us this email the other day, and we telling him he can't open, but we want to have a big party and a celebration. I love the 4th of July as well. I'm patriotic, but there's just some things right now that we're not able to do. You got the fire department you're going to have active. I'm sure you're going to have public works active. If anybody gets exposed to COVID, what are we going to do if we don't have our whole public works department, because we want to have a celebration? and the safety and the cost that comes along with that as well. I think we would be being reactive and not proactive. I think we really want to do it. I think there's a lot of things we all really want to do right now, but I just don't think that it's the smartest thing to do right now. I really wish that we can just postpone it and maybe move it along with Old Mill Day if we're able to have Old Mill Day. That's just I don't know the population size of Benson, but we are not Benson. We have 16,000 people here, including the MIA areas, including Fayetteville that has over 200,000 citizens, and people don't have anywhere to go for the 4th of July. I just think that is really not a smart thing to do right now. The traffic is already horrific when it's just a normal 4th of July. So we're putting off our wants. It's kind of being selfish and telling these business owners and the police department, figure it out because we want to have the celebration. That's just my opinion.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
if Ms. Hawkins could address that, because Parks and Rec did check into if we did postpone it, so I'll let her address that. And also some other ideas, should you wish to discuss that, in lieu of a traditional parade. So,
Yes, so all of the entertainment, fireworks, band. I had a company coming out of Raleigh called Imagine Circus, and they were going to do an hour-long acrobatic flame throwing performance. Face painters, stilt walkers, they are all good for October 3rd. So if we do decide to postpone it, everything will be pushed to October 3rd, which we've talked about kind of revamping October or Old Mill Days anyway. And whether we keep having fireworks every Old Mill Day, it'll at least get it on people's radar, because it's, a big firework. And I'm not sure out of that list how many of those are actually pyrotechnic companies, contracted pyrotechnic companies. Last year we got a lot of, I think people thought that we just bought our fireworks from Walmart and stored them. But we spend a good amount of money and it's a contract with this company. So they're good for October 3rd for Old Mill Days. But I also had another idea, Town of Hope Mills Porch Parade, where businesses, houses, they can register online for free, decorate their porches, their yards, their mailboxes, their windows, storefronts. I'd make a virtual map. Anybody can go on there, click it. They can see, explore the town. We can do prizes. It'd be up to you guys if you wanted it to be. There's a lot of different things that we could do. But for postponing it, everything would be fine for Old Mill Days.
And we could tie the two together and say that, we're kind of like everything else. We're celebrating 4th of July in October, because I think a lot of people are doing, like, if you notice some of the birthday parties and things, that they're rescheduling them till a time that it's convenient. Personally, I would think that would be a good idea. I like the porch parade. I don't know, probably not. We used to always, the Main Street was always, the homes were decorated. It was always the thing that Hope Mills was decorated. So it might be a good way to push that back. And even we did 2 years ago, we did the pier decorations at the lake, that we could maybe kick that back in to let them decorate and do something on the lake that you would be able to look at. But I'm concerned that if people don't have anywhere else to go when they come to Hope Mills, and if you were to have someone within the group that wanted to do something else, then we'd be dealing with people that we don't know. Whereas typically on 4th of July, most people that are here, especially for the parade and the activities, most people come home for 4th of July, come home to Hope Mills, and that's where I'm just afraid with the way things are. And then again, every time you hear somebody say that we're not going to have the parade, they're comparing that to all the other events that we are allowing, and they're saying, well, if you can allow that number of people to, why can't you do the parade? And if you put the fireworks in place, then why can't we come? And I know people would come. I just know they would. But
Madam Mayor,
yes, sir, Commissioner Legg.
I know when we sit up here, we like to have a motion and a second before we can discuss things.
Yeah.
So, in light of what's come out in this discussion, I would like to withdraw my motion of a second to have the fireworks.
Okay, so I have, do we have anyone, the motion was made by Commissioner Bellflowers. Is there anyone that would like to second Commissioner Bellflowers' motion now that Commissioner Legg has withdrawn his second? If not, Commissioner Bellflowers, you have anything you want to?
Motion dies for lack of a second.
Okay, all righty then. So is it in agreement then that we move to pursue Old Mill Days?
I'll make a motion that we try to double up on the 4th of July and Old Mill Days celebration, to include a firework if possible, depending upon the pandemic and the Parks and Rec's recommendation.
And how about the porch parade? Do you want to?
I think that would be,
It's all ready to go.
Yeah.
It's all,
Yeah.
it'll be all on registration.
yeah. I think add that to your motion because I think that would be, that would be a neat thing to do. I
I'll
like
add
that.
the porch parade to my motion.
Okay, so the motion would be that we move the 4th of July and put it with Old Mill Days, and that we incorporate a porch parade for this 4th of July. I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, so it's 4-1.
Comments?
Yes, sir.
I just want to let Commissioner Bellflower know that, you know, I appreciate his passion and I appreciate the motion that he did make. And I understand where he's coming from and I just want him to know it's nothing against him. I just didn't feel it.
Yeah.
I understand.
appreciate it.
I understand.
Well, and I think too we were trying to say when the first 4th of July parade was, the one that got the most attention was in 1976. And that was a big one here, a lot of attention. And then I don't know of, but maybe one that has had some, a rain issue that we had to reschedule. So this will be the first time in many, many years that we have not scheduled anything for the 4th of July. This always been where people wanted to be for 4th of July. So it's kind of sad that this pandemic has brought this on. But Old Mill Days will be exciting this year.
Hopefully, yep.
Okay, the next thing on our,
The bridge and stuff too.
okay, thank you. Next thing on our list is non-public hearing case number 19-007, consideration of the convenience store C1P site plan review, Hope Mills zoning ordinance zone C1P acreage, .94 acreage, located at 6428 Camden Road, and it's submitted by Harold Trogdon Developer.
A little taller. I had to turn this back up. I'll make this really quick. It says 19007 because this is about the fourth reiteration of the development of this site. It's a .94 acre tract. It's at what I call the bow tie. It's that old convenience store that used to be a coffee shop. It was approved last year as a coffee shop. The coffee shop lasted about 8 months. They went out of business, and now someone's trying to do a change of use to take it back to a convenience store. It was a gas station way back when. Went to just a regular convenience store with no gas. Went to a coffee shop, and now the owner is trying to take it back to a convenience store. I do anticipate that he's just simply, this is a property owner, is trying to find a couple uses on this property. In anticipation of this whole intersection probably going to get blown up. DOT is actually doing a major realignment of Rockfish Road and Camden, a major widening of both intersections. So I'm anticipating this entire intersection is probably going to get eaten up by right-of-way. The owner knows this, so I think he's just trying to keep an active use in this building until that occurs.
When this was brought up previously, when he wanted to put the car lot there, and the previous board voted it down. Do you recall the reason why? Because I know that was what he was trying to do at that time, was to have the coffee shop and the car lot.
Yeah, and I don't know if the board voted down the car lot. I think the car lot might have withdrawn.
And it was in reference to water and sewer.
There was a conversation about water and sewer. Now, in respect to the regulations with PwC that requires water and sewer installation, that's typically a conversation we have at annexation. But with respect to an existing building where there's no construction of any kind, there are requirements that if they have sewer septic, they have to get an approval from the health department, and that is part of the condition sheet that will probably accompany this. But I don't know if we have the authority through this site plan amendment process to require them to tie in the sewer, and also knowing that this property is probably going to go away with the widening. I don't know what that timeline. I have had some conversations where the project doesn't appear to be delayed in terms of the DOT project, but we still don't have a timeline if it's going to come within the next year or so. But as it relates to connecting them to sewer, they are on water, but making them connect to sewer, I don't think we have the authority to do it through this process.
Okay. Any other questions that you have for Mr. McLaughlin?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I live out in that area. I've seen a lot of lots disappear because of DOT road improvement. And this is already a pie-shaped lot. If they widen either one of those roads, they're gonna lose a lot of parking in the front. But they have a lot of room in the back that they could move the door to the back. Maybe wouldn't get good visibility from the public, but, I had a problem with it, and I talked to Chancellor about it earlier this week. I don't like bringing anything that's in town with the septic tank, because we ran into that problem in a subdivision over here for a number of years. So I rested my case right now.
Okay, any other concerns or questions for Chancellor? We have motion?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept case number 19007.
Have a motion to have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Commissioner Legg?
Right, and how did you have?
No, I raised my hand for it.
Okay.
So Commissioner Bellflower's 4?
Yeah.
4, and Commissioner Legg?
Yes.
4?
No.
4 against it, so it's 4-1. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next we have the rescission of annexation number A2020-03 Sweetwater subdivision due to inaccuracies in legal descriptions. So,
Madam Mayor, this is just a simple vote to rescind the annexation so that we can process the correct legal description and PIN numbers.
okay.
Motion to rescind annexation number A2020-03.
Have a motion to rescind annexation number A2020-03. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed. Next, we have consideration acceptance of the petition for annexation of Sweetwater subdivision and resolution number 2020-14, directing the clerk to investigate the sufficiency of the annexation petition. This will be annexation number A2020-04 and is a contiguous annexation.
And again, Madam Mayor, this is the same annexation, but with the corrected legal description and PIN numbers.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the R202014 to include the legal description of the property.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have all those in favor signify by raising your right hand? Seeing none opposed. Next, we have acceptance of the clerk's certificate of sufficiency for annexation number A2020-04 Sweetwater subdivision. Do I have a motion to accept this
I'll make
certificate?
a motion.
Have a motion to accept it and have a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed. Next, consideration and possible adoption of resolution R2020-15 to set a public hearing date of July 6, 2020 for annexation number A 2020-04.
I'll also make that motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to set the hearing date for annexation R 2020-15 for July 6. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand.
Yeah.
Seeing none, Commissioner Lady, you with me?
Voted yes.
All right, that's all, that's unanimous.
Mhm.
Next, we have discussion of employee telework policy.
And, Madam Mayor, we have the HR department here to, answer any questions. I also, sent you all, and you should have a copy at your spots, a letter from, Ms. Black, and also, 2 addendums to the policy.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I have about 4 questions.
All right.
Hello, Madam
Hello.
Mayor
Hi.
and Commissioners. How are y'all doing today?
Good.
Yes. Okay. On the front page of the policy, what equipment will the town provide and how will it be paid for?
I'm sorry, what was that?
It's on the front page at the very bottom of that case by case.
What are you referring to as a front page? I'm sorry, because we put it in a specific.
All the teleworking policy and procedure.
Okay. What equipment will the town, equipment supplied by the
Yeah.
town remains the property of the town? For those that will be, do you mind? if I-
Go ahead.
For those that will be earmarked or those that will be identified as able to telework, because
Uh-huh.
it's not townwide, for those that will be able to telework, we have been provided laptops. If those that have a laptop already, is not sufficient, but I personally, HR has been provided laptops. This is a work in progress, so we are still identifying which equipment is necessary. We have equipment here already. There are laptops. I think each department has a laptop, and the IT department has been working very closely with us. So for those to identify, and if it's not, the equipment is not ready right away, then I do believe that it's an IT issue. I don't think it's necessarily anything that's required to purchase, but we have laptops
Okay.
already available that are owned by the town.
Well, one of the main reasons I asked that is because in our budget, there was a request for that too. And so
Which some
that-
of us will get in July, like me. And I think we have 1 laptop, so in July we'll get another laptop.
And the administration department, I believe it's Ms. Shattuck has a laptop, but Jane does not. Jane's been using her own, is that not correct? Or Jane's been using her own equipment?
Okay.
Is that?
At the top of the second page, it says the employee must provide an appropriate work environment. What is appropriate? And how is that determined?
Appropriate would be like just basic what they would have here if they're at home, making sure that they're in a safe environment. Still at home, you want to use a lot of the same rules and regulations we have it here at work. You want to make sure it's safe. If you have any issues, some things HR can be able to assist with the questions that they have. Pretty much a lot of the same guidelines at work. We're gonna use those at home. For me, my biggest thing right now with this policy is the safety of our employees. If I just did some research, North Carolina's rate right now is the highest in the country. So and I'm sure Ms. Adams and everybody, our objective is to protect not just our employees, but our citizens. So the less employees we have here in the building, the better off we will be. And if one of us get exposed, you might not have any of us in this building.
Yeah, that's true.
I would definitely like for you all to keep that in mind, not to mention the fact that teleworking has been out for years, and if you definitely, I included in the memo
You did.
some research. We just have to get on board with the new way of working. The new generation is definitely looking for teleworking policies and the directions that they're headed now. If you don't have these things in place, us recruiting new people to come in and all that, that's gonna be hard. So it's important that we get on board. And also, one of the first things that the executive order that came down from the governor with Department of Human Health, one of the recommendations were that we do teleworking. And long as the department heads have a nice guide to follow for their departments, we'll definitely make it successful as we've been doing now. Like I said, that's what I hope to see. And like I said, the important thing to remember right now is the safety of everyone here. And we don't want anyone here to catch the COVID-19. And none of us will be able to meet in this boardroom. If one of us catch it, that's it. So we want to definitely keep that in mind. Like Trish said, this is something that we're going to be testing, which we already been doing. A lot of the research we've did has come straight off the league website, some of which the Hartsall Law Firm, some of the information I pulled from them. The league has definitely put many things in place that we can follow, same guidelines, and making sure that we're up to policy, and everyone here is following the policy. And that's not for any employees to slack either. Trust me, it's still going to be evaluated by the evaluations, making sure that they are following the guidelines of their job descriptions. Anyone not following the guidelines will get written up, and we'll go by company policy for that. But at most times, somebody should be manning the departments. So we have guidelines in place that we intend to follow. But what I'm glad to see is that we're getting on board with the new way of working. And a lot of people have come a long way from sitting behind the desk from 8 to 5. We have to look at the parents that might be having to work from home because their students may be doing work virtually now. So if we don't have those tools and those things set in place and get on board with the new way of working, we're gonna be behind. So I just wanted to point that out and let you all be aware of that.
Well, that leads to the second, my next question.
Go ahead.
Because I understand the safety, don't get me wrong, I've been through this myself.
Yes.
Still going through it. But on the other hand, you got work ethic. So how and who are going to measure productivity?
The intent of the teleworking plan is that the department heads of each department will identify those employees in their department that are eligible for teleworking, based upon equipment, based upon the needs of the town. We also want to make sure that the town offices are manned for maximum number of hours, which means staggering schedules, rotating employees through on specific days, so that there's full coverage at all times between the operating hours of the town. Each employee's job description will be their measurable activity, just like it's measured here. We'll know if the bills aren't being paid. We'll know if open enrollment hasn't been a success. We'll know because those services will fall off, and the goal is for not to have those services fall off. So each department head will be responsible for identifying individuals in their department that are eligible for telework. It may be some departments that don't have anybody that's eligible for telework. I can't see that, but we don't know. So that's still a work in progress. It's also a reminder that we're still under that federal executive order where the employees who have young children who are home from school and from daycares are eligible to take the time off paid for by the town. So as an option to that, so that everybody that has children or whatever don't just go home and shut down and then we're left with nobody. I think the lesser damage to that would be let's offer those employees, if possible, the ability, the option.
See, and that brings me to my last question, is like, yes. And so far, this is outstanding, don't get me wrong, because this is something new for everybody.
Yes, it is.
It really, it is a new normal. And it's a policy that has really taken a hold in the last 3 months as we work through this. So I'm not grilling you at all. I'm just like, we're having a good discussion about a policy that you're getting ready to put in place that's probably going to be here for years to come. So how is eligibility determined?
It would be determined again based upon each individual's job description. We'll use HR for an example.
Okay.
We'll use HR for an example. We have the responsibility of administering all the town's employee benefits. Which means that we're always on the Blue Cross website. We're always getting address changes. Anything that comes through our office, our phones are forwarded to our personal phones. I know that my job description requires me to do A, B, C, X, Y, and Z on a daily basis. I have to, I'm checking my email. Those I'm able to do at home. I'm processing FMLA. I'm able to do that at home. Anything that I haven't ran into anything yet here that I have not been able to do short of meeting face to face with the employees, which we are not doing right now anyway because of social distancing. So Ms. Black would be responsible for making sure that all the FMLA has been processed correctly, i.e. through me. She will be responsible for knowing that the commissioners and all of the employees have received their open enrollment packets, which I hope that they have. So my job description is the measurable activity. She'll know if something's falling through because someone's gonna call her and say, hey, I didn't get this, or I didn't get that, or I can't get a hold of Miss Trish, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. So far, we haven't had that. Well, have we?
No.
Okay. We haven't had
Good
that.
point. Good
So
question.
each
Good question.
department head, which I know that they all are capable of deciding, my employee can do it because of this. Now, if they're somewhere in the building or in another building located where they have to have access a certain way to employees, or, there's a high need for them to be here, they have to follow the guidelines of their department head and the town manager.
Madam Mayor?
It's not gonna be systemic across the board.
And it's not like if you check other places and do the research, unfortunately, everyone can't do it.
That's-
I mean, it's not like
Yes.
a police officer or a firefighter can fight a fire from home or investigate a crime or from home. That's not an option. So,
Okay.
yeah, just to be clear, there are going to be departments that, now, administration in those departments, possibly,
Okay.
yeah, and it'll be on a case-by-case basis
Okay.
with the recommendation of the department head and with, HR, and then with me having the final decision.
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
And
Thank
if
you,
we
Mayor.
find that it's not
Thank
working, then we do
Then
have it written in there
we
that
regroup.
we'll
Yeah.
regroup and bring it back. If I could, you mentioned something earlier, Commissioner, that said, let's not get wrapped up in how we can't, but let's figure out how we can.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
here.
Yes.
We're being proactive.
I love it.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes.
I just have some questions. I mean, I've gotten a lot of phone calls, and I think what you're talking about is great. But I've had concern from some of the citizens that have come by town hall, and they have been inside before talking to one or another. But they're saying that the staff each has their own private office that is separated from everybody else. And they couldn't understand why the staff couldn't be here, why they were at home, or if they were at home, why aren't they furloughed? And then they saw Miss Hines, and she has 3 inspectors, I believe they said, that if one of them gets exposed to it, then her whole area shuts down.
Well, that would be for any of the firefighters, police officers.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
It seems like
everyone,
that y'all, or the staff, from what I'm hearing, is more protected than anybody, but yet they're not here, is what I'm hearing.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Commissioner Legg?
when, and it will be over, trust me, this whole COVID-19 will be over. So who makes the call when everybody reports back to town hall? Would that be Melissa?
Well, that's what we're saying, Commissioner Legg, is that we're really behind. Most places have been teleworking for years. So this is not necessarily meaning that everyone's gonna come back to work at Town Hall from 8 to 5 every single day. This is the new norm. This is something that should have been implemented a long time ago. And like I said, the stats sit in, if you do research on other places and you look at the research, it's a new generation coming in now, and the flexibility of being able to work. Not to mention it will free up offices within this building, so we can have new people to come in. We're not really putting anything in the budget to build another town hall, but a lot of us need more staff. So we're looking at this as a way to grow the town and also save money and recruit a new generation coming in. And this is how, if the new way, if you go to the SHRM website and the research, this is the way of working now. And we have to come into agreement that is, you know, we respect the fact that maybe a long time ago that was the standard way of doing things, but the new way of doing things, I'm sure Mr. Hogsall and Melissa can agree. Most of your firm, I think, probably been doing this how long?
We've all been working from home for years.
Years. I know where I came from, I was teleworking the whole time. That was 10 years ago. So this is the new way.
And our policy does specifically state that we're trying this right now for 3 months.
Yes.
Because of the phased reopenings. So now, before we had to go home because of COVID-19. But now that we're putting an actual policy into place, which will hopefully go beyond COVID-19, but we are looking at it in phases. If we have to tweak it a little bit after the first 3 months, then we can do that. If we find that it's just not working, then it's just not
we'll
working.
go back to it.
Yes, but I think for right now, for the safety of the employees, and also in addition to what you said, Ms. Pat, even though we are in our own offices, the guidelines from the CDC says it can be airborne. It can live on paper. It can do, even though we're in our offices, it doesn't mean that when I hand her this paperwork and I'm here versus sending her something electronically, we haven't touched it. So we're not passing it with each other. So the fact that we have our own offices, when the surfaces around us are common areas and common surfaces, I could very easily go into her office and now she has it, you know, or something.
Yeah.
So it's kind of spacey, and inspections is one of those departments that's really, really constant. And it's constant, and it's always fluid, and it's always moving because there's always something going on. I don't think I see their department head here, but perhaps, you know, their department head, we're trying to put some of this into the hands of the department head so that they can come up and formulate a plan.
And they can formulate a plan for their department to meet their department needs. It may not be telework, but it could be that their hours be compressed in some type of way that can do, and I can tell you right now, I think Drew mentioned it right now, the morale rate with the employees has boosted. We're actually getting more work done. So we are definitely happy to see what it has caused with the employees being able to produce more with the teleworking policy, you know, just in place that caused us to go into this already. We've been very productive. So we're excited about that.
And with HR, it's a little bit different. What I've noticed since I've been teleworking is that because we have 24-hour employees, HR doesn't shut down between 8 and 5. You know, we have people that go on duty at 5 o'clock in the morning. I could conceivably get a call at 5 o'clock in the morning because someone's child has gone to the hospital and the Blue Cross has done something. And
I'm on vacation, and I can tell you now, I still get calls from drug screens and everything else because especially when I was a one-person show, but we're working all the time. To be honest with you, I'm constantly looking at my phone, and I'm gone. I'm going to be gone, I think, the rest of Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week. And Trish can tell you, I'm off, but guess what? If the phone rings and somebody needs something, we're still moving.
I guess what a lot of them are saying, and they just can't understand. I mean, I know what you're saying, and I know it's for safety and all. But when you're at home, you're not exposed to anything. You don't go anywhere. You don't go out shopping or anything. to me, if you do that, you're exposing yourself also.
Well, I'm
So-
not one that's out there doing all that, to be honest. I'll tell you,
Yeah.
I'd stay home for weeks at a time if I could.
Yes.
But I do, I wear my mask, I have it back there with me. We just, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, I'm just going by what some of the calls are, and I've already discussed it with Melissa.
Yeah, and I can see that. I can probably see that.
I'll add for what it's worth that I think a teleworking policy is a good thing to have in place.
Yeah.
And it does provide some guidance to the supervisors as to who might be able to telework and who might not be able to. And, you know, with the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, one of the things that the act kind of lays out is that where an employee may be quarantined, they might still be able to telework if you have a policy in place allowing that. And this would allow us to have that flexibility of having someone, let's say an employee is under quarantine. Right now, they might not be able to do anything other than sit at home for 10 days. If we had a telework policy in place, they might be able to continue working while they're under quarantine. And it's one of the things that the CDC is currently recommending is employers adopt these types of telework policies.
Madam Mayor, just have a follow-up. Do we currently have employees that are teleworking currently?
Yeah,
Yes.
all the staff is.
Yes.
The whole staff is?
No.
Well, I mean, the,
But
here
we
is,
still have some people.
Okay, so it's outside staff, or when I say staff, we're talking administrative staff, or?
Well, Tiffany is, she is on leave the rest of this week because she's got family visiting, but she's teleworking today because of the meeting.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Our HR
Finance,
department.
and,
Mhm.
HR is
Has been
still,
teleworking.
Okay.
I think an
some
administrative
teleworking,
assistant from
and-
Public Works has done some teleworking.
Okay.
I know finance is doing.
And finance is doing like a staggered.
I'm kind of in the middle. I actually never permanently telework at home or in the office or stay because I may have an appointment, so I come up to the office. This was in full stay at home, or if I have the option to stay at home, I would. But today, my private and my work phone calls are still coming to my cell, even though I came back and work full time Monday last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I just feel uncomfortable being able to grab it and call. So even though I started back working Monday last week, I never took my phone calls off the forward. And most of the people I'm talking to have no idea whether I'm sitting on my back porch with my laptop or if I'm in the office. I answer about 40 phone calls a day in the office or not.
Well, I will tell you guys, and Kim Wana probably knows this too, that we've been teleworking from the campus since the middle of March. And I will tell you, I have worked harder at home with more hours at home, and I know you can attest to it, than I ever did in the office. And we went back to the office this week, and it was almost like going back to a vacation for me. I mean, because of all the hours and work that I put in, you know, and that's what we do as educators. I mean, we do a lot more than just teach classes. We advise, phone calls, and various things. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, and
Excuse me, Commissioner Marley has been waiting to speak.
sorry.
Y'all must, I do want to remind you that you need to at least nod my way before you speak so I can, but I've recognized him twice and I was worried he was going to come over on the other
Sorry,
side of that
Commissioner Marley.
glass. Commissioner Marley.
I know this is gonna sound kind of hard, but I think the board's getting off key, and I think the board's stepping out of their scope. We hired a manager to run the town, and if the manager sees fit to do teleworking, that is the manager's decision. I don't think it's a board decision. I appreciate you coming up with this policy. I appreciate you presenting it to the board for information, but I think the board's getting a little off key in some of the stuff. This is not our decision, this is your decision. We hired you as the manager. If you see fit to telework, whoever you see fit, and that's the way I feel about it. So, I mean, there's no action to be taken on this, and we've seen the policy, we've reviewed the policy, and I respect everybody's comments, but My comment is, this is Melissa's decision, not a board decision.
Thank you, Commissioner Marley.
Commissioner McCray, Mayor Pro Tem McCray?
I don't have anything to say.
All righty then. Is there any other discussion? If not, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
And
Thank
this
you.
is, appreciate you giving the information. Next on our agenda is discussion and possible action on Historic Preservation Commission, change it to the Historic Preservation Committee.
Right, Madam Mayor, I think it was at the budget workshop, we discussed, the possibility, due to the especially qualified, people that are required on the Historic Preservation Commission, and the difficulty that we've been having in meeting that, due to a town of our size, we discussed the possibility of changing it back to a committee. That does not mean that they can't still do the work of a commission. They just would not be making the decisions on certificates of appropriateness. That would fall under the purview of Mr. McLaughlin. He's perfectly capable of doing that, and he's on board with that and has no issue. So I'd like to open it up for discussion.
Madam Mayor, I'll start that discussion if I may.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Commissioner Legg.
Being the liaison for that group, we didn't have enough people for a meeting this week. We had 2 members there. As one of the ladies that spoke earlier this evening said, we had some interesting discussions. Mr. Cisco's was there and Chancellor was there, myself, and those 2 ladies that were here. I don't see that we have anybody, I better watch how I say this, with the historical background to make the decisions that need to be made with that being a commission instead of a board, because they can make a decision and we have nothing to do with it. So I don't know about Chancellor, but I would be in favor of all the committees being committees and that nobody be treated any differently. They all be treated the same. So I would support going back to being a committee.
The concerns that both ladies raised are things that they would still be doing.
Yes.
I mean, they're not, so I mean, I think they were misunderstanding as far as what happens. The committees would still do the historic, they were going to preserve history. They're going to do work with the museum. They're going to work with the church. They're going to do everything. It's just they're not going to make those architectural and engineering kinds of decisions that affect the buildings and the things that are made up the historic district, which that was one of the concerns I think Mr. McLaughlin brought up previously, was that they're going to be making decisions that don't have the expertise, not any reason other than they're talking about architecture and designs, and I guess could we recognize Mr. McLaughlin, because I think he can explain why he would be the one to do the certificate of appropriateness.
You're correct that the functionality of what they typically do would not change at all. You would still meet with them once a month. We would still take direction from them as a committee. What would change is their authority to have a hearing to entertain a request for a certificate of appropriateness. That certificate of appropriateness is submitted to the county. It's still going to come through me. I'm going to basically administratively deal with the whole thing. I'm just meeting with them to discuss it. The direction, we set a work session for the next month to basically give Public Works direction on the museum. That's not going to change. It just changes the authoritative control they have with respect to having a commission meeting. The day-to-day operations on everything they're doing will not change at all. It just puts me in a position where I'm going to do the same evaluation with the county of a request for a certificate of appropriateness, and I'll probably send it through them as a agenda item to discuss. It just would remove the authority they have to actually grant it. But in terms of the day-to-day, we're still going to possibly set up the training for them to on the software for the museum to be archived, the items to be archived. We're still going to talk about the adoption of information to put into the work write-up for the museum. We're still going to do all those things. They don't need to be a commission to do those things.
Madam Mayor, may I ask a
Yes,
question?
sir.
Is that the only group that we have that has a commission? time?
That is correct as well. You don't have a Parks and Rec commission. You don't have an appearance commission.
Well, it's appearance.
Commission?
Yes.
Okay, I stand
Appearances.
corrected. But one of the things that the mayor did speak to, Jody Frazier was the last official person that I would consider a historian.
Qualified, yeah.
I'm not a historian. We even talked to Melissa about possibly exploring the cost of a consultant to do the reports, because typically the reports are being done by volunteers and citizens. The last one that was done, when it came back, we do have to update it based on some things that need to be corrected. Mr. Legg is correct that last Wednesday, with the 4 commission members we have left, we didn't have enough to even have a quorum to vote on the minutes. So while you have a concern about the professional people that would fill that commission as mandated by the ordinance, we also are struggling to fill the 7 seats that we have as well. But I support any decision that the board does see fit.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
we have 3 applications tonight from citizens who have applied to serve on the Historic Preservation Commission. Are they not qualified?
I guess what you need to read is the requirements to be a part of the commission, because from the state it has recommendations of the experiences they should have, and that was what we were relating it to. And I don't know, I can't off the top of my head give you those qualifications.
Architecture.
Land use, planning,
Realtor.
Realtor.
realtor was the one of the few things that we could find people for.
Yes,
We did have
We have a
a
realtor.
realtor or two, but historian, there's nobody, there's some people who have some history education, but they've not worked in a museum. They've not worked in a field where they have been a true historian.
Let me circle back then and say these 5 applicants went through the nominating committee to end up on the packet tonight. So maybe I should ask the nominating committee, because they were judged, I guess they were, to qualify on the commission, were they not?
On the committee.
No, on a commission. Because when you accept these applications, you accepted them because we haven't changed. So it's still a commission.
We haven't given a report yet.
So my question is, do these 3 applicants that are before us tonight for approval, are they qualified for the commission?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
one of the applicants does have a degree in history, so they would qualify. The other applicant is a paralegal. They're good in research. So that's, I mean, we were doing the best that we had.
I understand.
And Mr. McGeechee does not have any other background, but I believe those were the only ones that we had that applied.
Yeah, there was 3.
We'll stick a knife
Yeah.
inside of that.
Yeah, so,
Right.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing we did with the last committee. We did the best that we could. I'm not saying that everybody had I don't think any of the people, well, some of them did, and I don't want to say that I don't appreciate people's service and they don't have some great service that they can bring to the committee, but I think it was the same.
Which one you
We
want?
we keep running into the same predicament. So, I mean, we had people that were good that I think that would do good work, but they didn't have the exact qualifications, and that was going to circle us back around with the frustration where I think happened with the last committee. They don't have enough people. They can't meet. They can't get anything done. So, those are the qualifications of the people that we just submitted.
Okay.
And I think the anticipation was that since this was going to be a probability, that they were looking at filling those seats with people that wanted to be a part of it.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
even if they were qualified, that could be only a temporary fix. In the future, we might not have a qualified person according to what the state listings are. I'll probably get doused with hot water for this, but I'll make a motion, we take all the commissions back to committees.
I'll second that.
I don't think you
Can
can
I
do
do
that with
that?
parents.
As a commission, it's in the ordinance.
Yeah, we would need to revise the ordinances. I mean, you can do that. if
We
the
only
ordinance-
have the one ordinance on tonight. and-
Yeah,
Well, we would
yeah,
have-
we only have.
We may have to add it to the next meeting. in
So we
order
need to just deal
advertise
with
it.
this particular commission tonight. Because you've got the ordinance here, then you'd need to make the changes that would need to be to convert it back. So can you
I'll
convert?
change that to, I'd like to ask the town staff to research what it takes to do to go back to a committee instead of a commission.
But,
For
but
the appearance commission,
for the appearance,
that we,
Historical,
the historic is on the agenda.
the
for
historic,
this
all you
evening.
gotta
okay,
do
for
is,
the appearance committee
yeah.
mission as well.
What we're looking for is a motion to change the historical commission to a historical committee. That's what's on the agenda.
That's what I meant to say.
And
Thank you.
I'll add, just for consideration, that the requirement that we're talking about the, each member having various background, that's a statutory requirement, so we can't change that. A majority of the members have to have that designation by statute, so it's not something we can change if we want to, it's required.
If they're a commission,
If it's a commission. If it's a committee, we can just have whoever is interested.
whoever's
volunteer.
interested, okay.
I'll second Mr. Lee.
Okay, so the motion is that we are gonna change the historical commission to a historical committee. And so the motion and has been seconded. Any other discussion?
I believe we just changed that a couple of years ago, didn't we? From committee to commission?
Relatively recently, yeah.
No.
We did that when I was on the previous one.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, so it's a 4-1. All right, now, the next motion would be, if you want to make it Commissioner Legg, would be to investigate what would be needed to change the appearance commission back to a committee.
Is that where I need to ask for the research to do that?
That's what you were asking for.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to ask the town staff to tell us what we need to do to change things back the way they were.
I can answer that. We need to just amend the ordinance.
Okay.
So if you'd like to do that, we can bring back a proposed ordinance. and we can-
Please do that.
I'll second
Okay, we have a second on bringing back that to the board at our next meeting. So have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Any opposed? That's 4-1. Okay, next thing on our agenda is consideration, possible action, recommendations from the nominating committee. Now turn this over to the nominating committee.
Isn't it great? Right here.
Madam Mayor, Board of Commissioners, we would like to make a recommendation of Grace King for the Appearance Committee, Mary Ann McLean for the Board of Adjustment, Glenn Dean, Denise Hughes Gaskins, and Jarrell McGeechee for the Historic Preservation Now Committee.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, we approve the recommendations of the nominating committee.
Can I have a motion to approve the recommendations of the nominating committee?
Second.
I got a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed. The next thing we have on our agenda is discussion of Deaver Circle ownership and maintenance, and requested by Commissioner Bellflowers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Over the past couple of weeks, there's been a lot of discussion about the maintenance of Deaver Circle with all the potholes that's on that street. As we all know, Deaver Circle is a connecting street to a number of our neighborhoods where many of our citizens reside and use that road in and out to go to work, to go to school, and different functions. So the question came up with all the potholes, who was going to fix the circle? So that's what promoted the email that I sent to the town manager, who owns Deaver Circle. And if you'd like to take that, Melissa or Don, we can continue the discussion from your point of view.
Your guess is as good as ours. We don't own it, it's not in the town limits. The surrounding property on the left is, and then the surrounding property connecting to Village Green is. We annexed that in, but the road itself is not in the town limits, and DOT does not claim it either. So it's
So what's the
considered
solution?
an abandoned road, I guess.
For all the citizens that live in those neighborhoods that use that road every day, what do we tell them?
Well, we are looking into the possibility of, researching some grant money, working with DOT, on a viable solution, if we were to take it over.
How many homes on that street are not in Hope Mills?
Well, the only property on that is the storage building, the car wash, and the storage building. That's to the right. Everything else has been annexed in.
The condos at the end are in the town limit behind the
Right.
apartments.
Right.
So that's their main connection.
The problem with the road is there's no stormwater. It's not up to our standards.
Mhm.
And it would probably cost several $100,000 to install the stormwater and get it up to our standards.
Now, we did annex in a property there on the right side where those, I guess, potential houses are going to go.
There's no place on the right side.
Not right side, left
The
side,
left.
sorry, left
Left
side.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we did not annex the road.
And why didn't we?
It's not up to our.
It's not up to our standards?
Mr.
And it wasn't in the
McLaughlin?
request?
Yeah.
Keep going.
Okay.
John, you can come on up.
There's a lot of folks that are asking these questions, so tonight pretty much is transparency of why the road is like it is. Instead of the town not fixing it or not doing anything about it, the question is why?
The simple answer is it's not our road, like everybody has said.
Yeah.
When those developments were done, typically what happens is a developer will petition the town to take over for ownership and maintenance of a roadway. That did not happen. Hope Mills is not unique in that. There is legislation in the works in Raleigh. They're called orphan roads that will give municipalities a vehicle to take over maintenance of a road and ownership of a road, such as Deaver Circle. One of the reasons that the town never made any motion towards doing that to start off with was in order to take over a road, you have to have adjoining property part of the town. And up until the 1st of February of 2019, we didn't have that. So up until then, the town did not even have any standing to make a claim to that road.
Okay.
So, as everybody's fully aware, up until a year ago, that road, if I were to tell you it was in poor condition, we'd be bragging. That road needs a full-depth reclamation, and it also needs a stormwater system put in. Commissioner Barrelflowers, you're fully aware that there's no stormwater system on Rockfish Road.
Correct.
And that's the downstream side right now, and that's part of a future DOT project. Another thing that we would have going against the town is if we take that road over, we're responsible for the stormwater, and it's illegal for a municipality to pour their stormwater onto private property. It's against the statutes. So we would have to come up with a stormwater solution, and we don't own any property there, and there's nothing to connect to. That would also make the town, and correct me if I'm wrong, Counselor, that would make the town responsible if we took that road for the flooding on Rockfish Road for the waters that come off Deaver Circle. So there are a number of negatives right now as to why we don't even want to consider discussing taking that road over.
Okay.
I understand the frustration of the citizens that live there, you know, and I empathize with that. I live back in that neighborhood, you know, and I travel that road myself, you know, but as a steward for the town's tax dollars, for us to fix Deaver Circle would be no different than me to take a crew and go fix potholes on Rayford Road. Rayford Road's not ours, Deaver Circle's not ours.
And you know, Don, folks,
sir.
folks that have the same passion that we do, they call us as commissioners. They call us seeking some type of action, resolution, and because they don't know, they assume that the town owns it, the town's not monitoring it, there's potholes out there that need to be fixed, why aren't the town doing it? They don't know that we don't own it.
Right.
Not at all. And that's what happened here. It's just like the flooding that goes on over at St. Wayne Collier. That ditch needs to be reditched again, you know, so to alleviate some of that flooding in that area.
Mm-hmm.
But let me ask you this. Would if the developer develops, and this might be a chancer question, if the developer develops that property on the left, let me get my left right, wouldn't he have to bring that road to standard?
No.
No.
And one of the issues that we have with that is when you develop along a roadway, you have to seek driveway permits. They don't have anybody to go to for driveway permits there right now because there's no owner on Deaver Circle.
That's where I'm circling back to. So it would prevent the developer from developing any of that property as well, until the ownership of that road is established.
Well,
am I right,
Well,
Dan?
here's where you probably get into a legal technicality, and the counselor can correct us on that. But since we don't own the road, we can't stop them from connecting to it.
Right, yeah,
Mm.
I think that's right.
Ah.
That's not the only road we got up there.
Another thing is a catch-22. The approval authority would typically rest with DOT. It's an orphan road, so they don't own it. Who is the driveway permit coming to? It's not coming to us because it's not ours. But what's at the very beginning of this is we are typically, with Public Works, entertaining the acceptance of streets that are created in existing new subdivisions. The three subdivisions we're annexing, Preserve Lake Upchurch, they're creating roads in those subdivisions. So those new roads have to be built to town standards. As they complete the subdivision, they actually petition for us to take over. Deaver Circle was an existing road someone just built houses off of. It wasn't a road that was created as a result of a subdivision. The fact that it was an orphan road just created a complete perfect storm. I think the amicable route is to allow us to continue to have conversation with DOT, who is doing the roadway alignment that we talked about now. Do we want to put it in? I don't think so. We're having conversations with DOT about them doing the roadway at Rockfish Road and them putting in a stormwater system that this area needs. That is the direction I think we should move through with negotiations, which is what Don is actually doing right now.
And I agree, because I think the resolution's a partnership.
But taking
with
over
DOT.
ownership from us, I don't think should be No, I don't think that should be an option.
Commissioner Legg?
Mr. Belfast, that's not the only road in that area that is an orphan road. I believe Applegate would probably come under that classification as well. The developer that built beside of me out there put that road in on that old mud dirt road they had there, and it's not up to our standards, so we can't maintain it, we can't take care of it, we can't do nothing with it. And some of the streets in this subdivision is not up to our standards because they met county standards, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Back in the day, probably.
Back in the last 5-year day.
Is
Those
there any,
streets are all new.
is there any kind of assessment, or is there any way that those that are on either side of that road could help pay for that road? Or is that something that wouldn't be considered? I mean, the community that's around it, undoubtedly
Good question.
it belongs to them because they use that road. I'm just wondering, is there some type of,
Mayor, I think there's one house out there, and I think it's addressed off of Rockfish Road, isn't it? On the
That's
corner
in
from the
the county.
fireworks. Both of those roads only had one house.
but
you look in
wasn't
your
that
map, you'll see
road
it.
made for that one house originally?
Madam Mayor, if you look at your
I've got
map,
it, yeah, I've got
you'll
it.
see that, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Wasn't that road
Mhm.
created for that one house?
You're talking about the top side of Peter Circle now?
Whichever one came,
All the way at the end.
whichever house came first. One of the houses came first, and that's where
Talking
the
about the
road
one in the
started.
back, Don.
The
Yeah.
one in the back that used to have a gravel drive going
Yeah.
back to it.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if Beaver Circle was put there intentionally for that house in particular, that was before.
Because I guess if we could locate how it got there originally, why that road is there.
Yeah.
Because all these other things have been,
Madam Mayor, Village Green Apartments and Village Green subdivisions are my thought of how that road has come into, to been in existence. Although there's 2 or 3 other roads to get in there, that used to be one of the main entrances to get through to the Village Green Apartments and the old Village Green subdivision.
Yeah.
my thoughts, just wonder who first paved it.
You know,
Yeah.
it probably was paved down to the right turn.
But somebody had to
Commissioner
do
Lay.
it.
It probably was paved there to get into the apartments, and from that
Probably
point to
most
the house.
crazy that nobody claims to have that right now,
I
so-
understand why they don't want it now.
So going forward, your plan is to,
Beg for help.
going forward, your plan is to,
Continue conversation with
Yeah,
DOT.
right now, we're working on conversations with actually the developer that purchased the land on the left-hand side.
Okay.
And the DOT.
Okay.
And we're trying to come up with a amicable solution where everybody helps.
Okay.
And that at some point in time, and this is definitely not a near-term solution because of the stormwater issue
Yeah.
and the Rockfish Road flooding issue, but at some point in time, our goal is to have Beaver Circle built to a reasonable standard, and then for the town to be able to take it over as an orphan road.
okay.
Now,
Fair enough,
that-
Don.
That is a very long-term goal.
Fair enough. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Okay. Next on our agenda is discussion of the Hope Mills Lake debris cleanup procedures. This was requested by Commissioner Bellflowers also.
Well, this is another series of phone calls that I usually get, and I got this one from Miss McHenry that sent me several pictures about all the lake debris that continues to drift down through the lake, and it collects at her property. And during the conversation, she explained to me that it's very difficult for them to get all of that lake debris out of where their property is, and that over the past, I guess, 6 months or so, she spent well over $2,000 trying to remove all this debris. And she would like to know if there's any way that the town could come out there and remove that debris from that location. Now, I know at one time we had I still think we have a boat, don't we? We purchased a boat, and we were one time removing different debris. So I don't know, what should I tell Miss McHenry? That's probably the conversation piece. What should we tell her?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I know where you're talking about, and I know when we first started the lake back, they used the boat to pick up a lot of debris and all, but if you single out one area, that's not fair to the other one. If you do for one, you have to do for others, and you open it up for everybody here in Hope Mills. I know they can get help to clean it out, and I think if you check back, I think they originally created this little area that they have right now. I'm not for sure. Don could probably tell me.
Don, you wanna come up?
Well, at one time, the town was coming by picking it up. if people
It's
put
just-
it to the road, the town would come by and get it.
And we still do.
And we
They
still,
still
okay.
do.
Right. The question right now on the McHenry property is however many years ago, the family dug a moat where they changed the shoreline. And there's a small island there that's got some features on it and a moat. And she wants the town to go in on her private property and clean up the moat. And it'd be no different than if Roger wanted me to go mow his grass.
Okay.
Not
You know,
over there yet?
and the answer, to me, quite simply, the answer is a private property owner is responsible for their own private property. And there's a certain amount of maintenance that a waterfront property owner should expect to have. I live on a pond, I have to clean my own backyard. It's as harsh as it sounds, that's got to be the simple answer, because if we go do hers because she now has filed a complaint with you, then I have to go next door, and then next door, and next thing you know, I've got 95 acres of shoreline that I'm taking care of that's private property. She expressed concern that we go out and we clean over, she points across the lake and says that we clean up over there. Well, that's the town's park. It's our responsibility. We
Yeah.
take care of ours.
Yeah.
One of the problems that she has, unfortunately, is where her property is located, she is directly downstream of both current and the prevailing winds. So everything goes there. I can't help that. I can't change the wind.
So is it collecting because of the moat?
It's collecting in the moat.
But is it, so if it wasn't a moat, it wouldn't be collecting there at all?
If there wasn't a moat, chances are it'd do like everything else does. It'll hit up against the bank and just keep on going down the corner where we pick everything out all the time.
Yeah, it collects in that far corner.
In that far-
and then
yes, sir.
some of it eventually will move over if it can get past the boom.
Right.
And go over the fingers.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think I got a better understanding of what we're talking about. Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
All right, next we have added item L, and that is outdoor zoning and legislation
Outdoor dining.
Outdoor dining.
Outdoor dining.
and zoning.
And local restaurants.
Yes.
And zoning regulations.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm just
You're just here.
standing and
This is
waiting.
a tough issue, Mayor.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna, I guess it's just best just to say it the way that it is. The last couple of days, there's been a lot of phone calls, and I know I've received them. That's the reason why I added it tonight. About what are the outdoor dining zoning regulations for restaurants? That I believe that there was a recent restaurant that opened that may be in code violation. Not only two code violations, one with the site plan and one with setbacks. In fact, it was never approved for outdoor dining. And the question that I had was, how was this business issued a certificate of occupancy with two zoning violations? Therefore, the business must submit approval for a variance or a site plan to meet compliance. I got this about 4:30 today. So that's the reason why I put it on the agenda tonight. And I don't know what the answers are. I mean, is a business in violation? Are they actually in violation?
Technically, yes, but as economic development director, I will say on record that it will always be my policy. It will always be my position to move in any way, shape, or form that minimizes any negative impact on any local business. I will say that 100 times, twice on Sundays. With respect to this particular issue, it happened around the same time that I was entertaining a policy to allow for outdoor dining. I got my first 8 years experience in a major metropolitan area, city of Atlanta. This is pretty normal things that you do in major cities. If you think about Trade Street, some of the ideas I have for Trade Street, if you take Trade Street, take out the parallel parking on the side that allows you to widen the sidewalk. You can have outdoor dining there. There are always ways you can do this. So at the time that this particular establishment, it wasn't willful ignorance. It wasn't malicious. It was just something that code violation happened. But at the end of the day, I got a call from about 2 more businesses interested in the same thing.
Right.
So I said that happened right around the time when I said, you know what? I talked to the town manager about it. I said, I can just start working on a policy that talks about allowing outdoor dining and Hope Meals. I do think that's probably a more amicable solution than the alternative, which is to go in heavy-handed and make someone remove all that stuff out of his business. I do not want to take that approach. I do think that would probably be a little bit heavy-handed, that would negatively affect the business, and I do think a more amicable approach would be to maybe give me authorization, have a few work sessions, do some research, look at City of Fayetteville, look at Aberdeen to see what their policies are. We've done that with a lot of things with respect to signs and things of that nature.
Don't we have some businesses that already have outdoor dining? I can think of several.
There's quite a few. We don't have a policy.
That's what I'm saying is that, but
I think the issue is that where it's coming into play is in the front.
Yeah, so
That's the issue.
Yeah,
technically, we don't have any regulations that allow that in the front yard setback.
Yes.
But in my world, when I think about analysis of zoning regulations, things that are prohibited are many times only because no one actually put the language in
right.
there.
Well, I know that we've had some other restaurants that have tried to incorporate the front yard because of what's been going on and trying to increase their seating. There's one on Main Street that has most recently tried to encourage that seating out front. The main reason is because they're trying to go by the rulings of the percentage that can be on the inside. But just like up at Stop Button, you know, they're a different scenario than being a restaurant. They don't provide food. I'm just wondering, you look at all the restaurants that have outdoor seating, we probably do need to address it.
You hit the nail on the head. We have a mandate that limits the amount of people inside. Anybody that does go inside, you have social distancing. Some people are trying to find a way around this by having seating outside. Robbins on Main called because she had an area where they do curbside pickup, and she wanted to have something that was creative in that scenario. So there are ways that we can possibly explore creating some language that is inclusive of allowing people, even if it's temporary during COVID or if it's permanent. We've had situations where we've analyzed negative trends to try to come up with ways to allow things, or at least to allow more flexibility to businesses through our legislation. That would be my approach with rectifying this situation. Like I said, I would always push back on going in very heavy-handed in a way that would almost definitely negatively impact the business.
Was there anything done with McDonald's?
McDonald's,
theirs is in front.
When you're having these conversations, especially with Stop Button, Stop Button they engage these very complicated layers of zoning. Stop Button's issue is that if you're 51% food, 49% alcohol, you're a restaurant. Flipped, if you're 51% alcohol, 49% food, you're a bar. They don't have food. They're considered a private club. Breweries typically, in places like that, typically provide their food in a food truck in the parking lot. They just serve alcohol on the inside. With respect to McDonald's, McDonald's was going to be triggered before we made the change to the sidewalk ordinance to create the throws. They were going to have to put in the sidewalk at that intersection of Camden and Main Street. If you look at that retaining wall, they got about 2.5 feet before you're hitting Main Street. The DOT sidewalk requirement is 5 feet. All they were trying to do is put umbrellas out in front of the tables. If they made those umbrellas permanent, it triggered the sidewalks. We found a nuance in the code that allowed them to take the umbrellas inside and bring them back outside during the day. They're not permanent structures. That's what stopped them from having to do that, but they were not in the setback. So with respect to this establishment,
Yes.
What I would explore with that language is those seats will be allowed, they just can't be permanently fixed. You have to bring them back in at the end of the evening. That doesn't mean it's going to rectify all the issues, but that would be my first approach at drafting some language that allows Robin to have a couple things out front just during business hours and things of that nature. It's almost like when you have a business that has outdoor display. They can't leave it out there all night. They have to take it out, and when they're operating, they have to bring it back in the evening. That's the approach I would do. I would research other municipalities to come up with language that does address a lot of the concerns, but that's where my mind was at the time that most of this took place.
Discussion, someone else have questions?
No, I just want to understand something. In order to leave chairs outside or tables, you have to be what kind of business now? Or what's the zoning?
Typically, if you are a retail establishment selling, let's say you're a repair place that repair lawnmowers, but you sold lawnmowers. You wanted to actually advertise them up front. You can have them out front and then pull them back in at the end of the night. If you're talking about outdoor dining, that's actually a use, which is why a variance is probably needed if you want to have it in the front yard setback. But that's typically when you have them permanently out there. In the event, I'm trying to find a middle ground is maybe you have outdoor dining in a setback, but not on a permanent basis. You treat it like an outdoor display, which you would do a good you're selling, but you're basically taking the chairs and the tables in every night. There's nothing in the language right now that speaks to that, which is why having anything out there currently is a violation.
Madam Mayor, but
Yes, sir.
Chancellor, but if this business, since they are in code violation of site plan and setbacks, is it an option for them to move their chairs to the back of the business? Would they be in compliance? Would it be to the side of the business? Would that be in compliance?
Because there's no outdoor dining policy, I have nothing on the books that says. I think personally I would probably look better under a canopy in the back, but it's not my business. It's not my business model. But we don't have anything that speaks to outdoor dining at all. So even if we did want to say, take corrective action, move it to the back, it's not a use in our ordinance. So we have to actually write that in, which is why I think the best approach is to develop a policy. When I have one or two phone calls coming as complaints, but those complaints are from other business wanting it as well, that tells me there's a need or a desire to have it. Yeah. Yes, they're possibly complaining, lodging a complaint, but they're saying, I want it as well. So to me, when I hit the fourth business, the fifth business, if you think of anything I ever come in here asking for an ordinance amendment authorization, it's when I've actually noticed a trend. So now, regardless of how that trend was created, there seems to be an increased desire from restaurants in Hope Mills to have outdoor dining, and I think we could achieve at least addressing the issues through the creation of a policy.
Well, it's like you just said, Commissioner Edwards. You said you can't do for one unless you do for everyone.
That's right.
And that applies here too. Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Ms. Allen, when can you bring the board a ordinance or policy on that?
As soon as possible, I mean.
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
Perhaps for July 6th.
Yeah, because this is not something that I'm actually creating a 60-page ordinance. This will basically be a new section in our existing zoning ordinance that speaks to this policy.
I know, I did a little research over the weekend. The village of Pinehurst in Moore County, recently adopted an amendment, because of, just similar. And downtown Pinehurst, I don't know if you've ever been, but, there's nowhere for the businesses. There's no backyard for a business. There's no side yard for the businesses. So everything would have to be out front. And they recently adopted a policy. Now, I don't know if it's just for, during this pandemic, or if it's a permanent policy. We can research that. there's no point in reinventing the wheel. We can take a look at it, tweak it, you know, and try to come up with something that will suit our needs.
If it's the pleasure of the board, I'd like to see you bring us back something
Some
permanent
language, yeah.
to it, and that, because I think that's a draw for people coming into town to eat and patronize the restaurants.
Yeah.
Some people-
In a lot of urban areas, they have a minimum width of the sidewalk. Because like town manager said, if you're talking about downtown Greensboro, you don't have a rear yard at all or a side yard, but you have a 20-foot wide sidewalk. So they put in a mandate that you have to at least keep 10 feet of sidewalk clear, and then the first 10 feet from the building out can be used for a small outdoor dining area.
That
So
might
there
be
are
some- yeah,
parameters.
That might be something that would even entice those, could be restaurants on Trade Street.
That's exactly my
To come
point.
back open, if you
Exactly
came
my
up with
point.
a way that they could do that. Because there's two places that could open back up as restaurants.
So, I mean, like I said, my thought would be exploring the parameters that you would put in place that would regulate them in a meaningful way that allowed someone to actually enhance their business to provide some outdoor dining, but that didn't create any public safety issues in terms of cars and things, because Camden is pretty busy. So we would have to at least have some kind of minimum setbacks and things of that nature, but I think we can develop some language that would allow people to be able
Does
to.
that need to be put in the form of a motion or to direct?
Not really.
that, or
I mean, I
just-
don't think so.
No.
I mean,
Consensus, maybe.
consensus.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Do you want me to
Yeah.
bring back something?
I think we're good on consensus.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you,
Thanks.
sir.
Thank you, Chancellor.
Next on our agenda would be our manager's report. Do you have,
I have nothing new to add.
is there anything that y'all have questions about that you would like to have clarification on?
No, Madam Mayor, Mayor,
Huh?
I stay up with Melissa pretty good. I keep her busy. She's hopping. So she keeps me pretty much up to date on what's going on.
I do have one, Mayor.
Yes, sir?
The situation with the house that burned on Fountain Lane. What's the current status of that house? Or investigation or?
I just had a hearing on it, and he has indicated that he's still going through his insurance process, but we are going through the process with the minimum housing code, so, yeah.
Okay. Which is, what?
It has to either be cleaned up,
Yeah.
removed, and cleaned up, or he has to rebuild it back to code.
And how long does he have for this through the minimum housing ordinance?
That's a inspections question, but I
Okay.
know they just had a hearing, so.
Okay.
Over the telephone, so there's a process, and he has indicated that he's still working with his insurance company. We are trying to verify that.
How long has this been? Been,
3 months?
Been a few months.
yeah, it's been a few months. Yeah.
The fire was in January.
I think it was, yeah.
January,
Yeah, 5 months now. 6 months. 6
Well,
months.
he's also indicated, because it's a, I believe it's, a criminal case. Yeah, it's a criminal case as well.
Okay.
So he indicated that's an issue. We're trying to verify all of this information and
Okay.
see what we need to do.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yep,
Thank you.
yep.
And did I miss it, or have we got anything else on the Rockfish Road sidewalk?
We're gonna be discussing that in
Okay.
closed session.
All righty. Anything else for Ms. Adams? All right, the committee meetings are listed on your agenda. Of course, the July 3rd will be the observation of the July 4th holiday. Town offices will be closed. Our next regular meeting is July 6th. Staff comments? Ms. Starling, no. Mr. Hartzog, no. Ms. Adams, no. All right, official comments. I'll start with Commissioner Legg.
I'd like to thank Mr. Mathis for being here tonight. I'd like to give my thanks to Chick-fil-A for them reaching out to us this evening to furnish some meals for us here at Town Hall. And I'd like to ask for Marco, if I may, what is the status on the fall sports registration? It's going on now, I understand. Is that correct?
Correct.
Does the future look good in being able to conduct fall sports?
Well, we're moving
Excuse me a
forward.
second. A lot of difference in him being at the mic and Chancellor being at the mic. One pulls up. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, we're all assuming that the outlook's going to be better by the time fall sports starts. So it's all online now, and quite a few people are signing up. We do have on-site where we have a tent set up in front of the rec building.
Okay.
But a lot of people are registering online, and with volleyball, believe it or not, being the most popular. So a lot of it's a new sport for us, but a lot of registration for volleyball.
Now we gotta build another gym. We don't have room for volleyball and basketball.
We like that. So,
Inside soccer.
So we're assuming that fall sports is going to be, by the time fall gets here, we're assuming that it'll be lifted enough to actually have fall sports. So we're moving forward like it's like it's
Well,
going to be
good.
there.
I knew they were signing up, but I didn't know how they were doing it. Thank you.
Online mostly.
I believe that's all I've got, except for saying thank you to all of our staff members for your continued hard work. Our first responders, guys, you're it. You're the guys and gals, excuse me. So thank you for everything you do and every day you do it. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Marley?
I don't really have anything. I mean, we had some good discussion tonight. We made some tough decisions, so I think we did good.
Okay. Commissioner Bellflowers?
I'd like to thank the folks that came up to speak tonight. I'd like to thank our first responders for their activity over the weekend. It was a lot of different groups that were exercising their First Amendment rights here in town on Sunday, and that was a peaceful protest. And thanks to the first responders, everything went well. The last thing I would like to is to thank all of the town staff of everyone that participated in that outstanding video that was played earlier, because it was truly magnificent. Thank you, Mayor.
Magnificent.
Magnificent, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Edwards?
No, ma'am.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I'll keep it brief because I know we've been here for a long time tonight. I think in our official comments, we do thank the staff a lot, and we do thank the staff, but we received an email this week from a citizen who resigned from a volunteer committee. They didn't feel like they were appreciated enough. So I know our committees have probably met about once or twice since I've been on the board, but I would like for all our volunteers to know that we appreciate everything that they do. So I didn't want to overlook our volunteers, and I know as we can start meeting again and do things again, each of the liaisons will try to highlight those things and show our volunteers that we're appreciative of them. I would also like to invite everyone to the Juneteenth celebration that is this Friday at Dirtbag Ales and Hope Mills. But it is going to be they're going to live stream virtually. People are able to come, but of course people are going to have to maintain social distancing, and they're going to have to, meet the requirements that the governor has stated. But I do want people to know that it's open not just for African Americans, but for everyone of every race, because it's about cultural understanding and appreciation. So it is not an African American event by all means. It really is a unity event, and I think that the mayor's proclamation did a good job of educating a lot of people that didn't know what Juneteenth was. And I would also like to thank Chance and everybody that participated in the video for the seniors. Those are the fun things. We did make a lot of hard decisions here tonight, and I don't want to be the bearer of bad news and tell people that we can't have fireworks on the 4th of July. But again, I think that if we're able to do it in October, that I think that'll be worth the wait, and I think that it'd be great. And that's all I have.
Thank you. The only thing I'd like to add is, again, just kudos to our first responders and the things that they've had to deal with as far as other calls and stuff during this time. And I think, Chancellor, if there's a way that we could somewhere, I know Raleigh did this and they sent it to me, their mayor's youth leadership, they had pictures of their the youth leadership and recognized them for being a part, because they, like us, have not been able to meet. And we did have a very good group. And I was thinking if there's some way we could do something. I know we took headshots one time. It might be, okay, if we could do something for them too, because we truly have been blessed this year. And it's just a shame the good work that they wanted to do for the cleanup and the other stuff we weren't able to do because of the virus. And with that being said, do we have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to conduct a closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-1811A3, attorney-client privilege, and NCGS 143-31811A5, discuss a contract, and pursuant to NCGS 143-318A6, to discuss a personnel matter.
Have a motion to have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. And we'll be going to the front conference room. Either take your mask or take your petition. We ready? Everybody in? You'll keep standing.
No, I've sat long enough.
At this time, I'll call our meeting back to order. Do we have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to move to seal the minutes of the closed session until such time as the release of the information will no longer frustrate the purpose of the closed session and further no action was taken.
Have a motion to have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed. We appreciate everyone's attendance tonight, and it has been a long night. Do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, and we'll see you on July 6th.
Yep.
July 6th.